listen to you, Griff.
Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't just sound like a maniac. Like, I don't know.
Okay, thanks everyone for joining. And I will start sharing my screen. Today's intro question is if you want to share a significant experience you had this week. If I would start, I would say that for me it was super special to broadcast uh, um, like an event next to my brother. We did that yesterday, and it was really funny, and it was really great, the event. And the what I took from that event is that I asked Santi City about like if he had done simulations of the UBI token, and he told me like, yeah, once a guy made a simulation, and he told me like, even though that we give everyone the same percentage, and we try to make everything like the best distribution for that, um, the token, like it goes on the same percentage to everyone, but in the simulation he was told that even though that you give like try to give everyone the same, it is still is going to like have monopolies. It's still going to tend to monopolies, and that is super interesting because like yeah, I didn't think on that, and now that like opens a new point of view around like UBIs and distribution. So like, how can we end monopolies if not like if distributing equally to the people is not going to solve that? Like it's like a new question that I have, and I will pass to Libby.
Something significant this week. I had an interesting tarot session yesterday. I always take tarot with a friend, and
Tyro,
and one of the things I realized at some point, she told me something was like only my choice. It was only up to me. And something clicked on me of how even talking so much about autonomy and about decision making and about owning our decisions and having the self-sovereignty, how some things are like in the depth of the unconscious. Something I would like to believe in, like a destiny or on a path that it's already like paved, or on something that it's meant to be, or this kind of things. And I realized how this is a very like colonized thought process, that even though it's not in the front of the practical, like conscious way of thinking and acting, it comes from like the church and the state and the culture, even if you're not religious, of this like something that takes out your autonomy from your way of thinking. I think I'm rumbling now, but just like thinking of like sometimes we are afraid of making decisions because they mean you are responsible for what you create in your life. And maybe that's why we give up decision making power so easily. And maybe that's the point we have to like start bringing back to this core of understanding what are the decisions you're afraid to take, because that's possibly the ones you should be looking more towards. I'll pass to Nate.
It's hard to follow. I guess a significant experience I had this week. I've had some great conversations with people this week, and I think they're really important, and it's good to, as Livy said, to start making your own decisions and realize that you kind of can will that path into existence. So I had great conversation with YGG and Craig and Griff and just a ton of really amazing conversations. And so that's pretty much my significant experiences for the week, is just talking more and getting to know people better. So I will pass to Chewy.
Thank you, Nate. I wish I had something more significant, but I can I can only think of 2 days ago was 420. I had a meeting with Griff where he said that it was just weird that people weren't more open about it, and bicycle day and 420 in the TEC. So I mean, and it was 420, and some friends and me got together. We had a barbecue, but we got chicken because it's cheaper and better. Just I don't know, so we just had a barbecue and hung out, and I guess it was special and different because it's been a while since we that group of friends got together and shared something. So even if it was this weird day that people came up with, it's it's always important. I'll always remember that when I first got to the TEC, both Tam and Griff, everyone brought up the importance of having your own personal time, and also this is what gravity is also about. You can always approach someone and ask for this personal time and be open about it. So I guess that's what I can say about that. I'll pass it to Durgadas.
I got my significant moment was getting a common stack thing, and my wife just gave me this T-shirt she designed about the last stands for ancient temperate rainforests. So I got 2 pieces of swag this week, and I also got a common stack T-shirt in the mail, but I chose to wear this one because I got other stuff. So yeah, that was great. It's this week I think it's kind of coalesced for me, just how sort of significant the integral and gravity and spiral dynamics groups in this master's course I'm teaching on autism, which we're doing again in the fall. And I just discovered I'm being paid, so I was like, oh my god, I'm being paid. So there's all this sort of it's really nice because it's kind of finally sunk in with me that I finally have groups in which my participation is not somehow overwhelming or off color or too complex for them. Do you know what I mean? People with autism run into that a lot, and the fact that I infoed on certain people, they're just like, wow, you know a lot, instead of just being like, oh Christ, when is he going to stop talking? So it's just weird realization that sort of dawned on me about things, where instead of hearing that feedback, I've finally kind of let it exist in my body mind, that maybe that's just reasonable to expect for the rest of my life, and so that's come to be very meaningful to me here recently, and I've stopped being willing to kind of accept this downshifted version of myself where I feel like I'm driving in first gear all the time. So, and I have a lot of both the token engineering commons, but also just all the associated groups and people who have been very, very accepting of me and my approach to things. It's really hit home here the last week or so. So I'm not sure who went because I'm a little late. So Manu, I wonder if he went.
Hey guys, something significant that happened this week. Well, I just had a conference call with like a team of designers, and I mean, they didn't know the first thing about cryptocurrency or smart contracts or like the blockchain 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and we're like at 3.5 or something. And it's just it's always very interesting to explain it to them and just watch like little morsels of good like explaining ammo that you have that you throw at them, and it just lights up their face because they see the potentiality of that converting the actual state of affairs. And that's always significant in a sense. And that's enough. That's for me, that's good. So I'm gonna pass it to Septimus.
Thank you, Manu. I actually want to say the hat is very good on both of you, and even you, Juan, you look like younger. That's awesome. A significant experience for me this week. It was just a moment like 2 hours ago. Like we were on this parents party, and I was like, "Damn, I don't understand. I need to learn more." And yeah, and my learning with that is like I need to push me a bit more, and at least if I am not able to make good programs, like I don't want to be like, oh, I'm just voting for Sam because I trust him, but I want to understand. So yeah, I want to push on that, and yeah, and I don't know who didn't go because I jumped late, so I'll pass it to you, Juan.
Okay. I think the one that is missing is.
Yeah, I can steal it.
Okay.
I'm eating. Yeah, I had, oh man, first off, Livy's was like, wow. It's tough to start with Livy's, very deep. But for me, I've been traveling this week. And so it's been really nice, like hung out with seeing people in person, right? I mean, my mom, I haven't seen my mom in like at least 8 months, maybe more. Just like rebuilding these physical relationships is really cool. My brother, and then I got to hang out in San Francisco, hang out with Nate and Craig, which was super cool, and just like, oh wow, you're tall, these kinds of things. Like it's just it's always fun to make these physical relationships real, and it's been so virtual lately that it's just really like. I could appreciate like being in the same room with another person, all the extra cues that you get. It's really cool. And there was a moment where I actually got to meet with the Faye crew, and they're in San Francisco. And, I had this experience where, I had a failed project that raised a lot of money, the DAO back in the day. And so they were in a similar boat and just talking like, well, are you, like, this is your moment to decide, do you want to unwind this whole thing? Half the community just wants you to give up and give them back the money, like you could do that. Are you intrinsically motivated to, be a slave to this protocol for the rest? Like going to the team level and having this experience with the humans. There's only 3 people on the Faye team. They raised over $1 billion worth of ether. There's 3 people, it got a little out of control, and I've been there. Like the DAO had 5 people, so it was kind of interesting to have that like external perspective where I could advise them, and we could just ask questions and be like, well, what do you think? So that was pretty significant. And I'll pass it to Vivi.
Hi. So the significant experience I had was like 2-3 days ago. I found an SD card, and that contained my code that I wrote like 5 years back or something. We didn't have a computer back then, so I used to code on a Raspberry Pi hooked up to a TV, so that was pretty nostalgic. I was slightly disappointed at some of the stuff because it was bad, but like it was really good because I had been looking for that thing for a while. Like it's really like a documentation of a journey, so it was great. That's from me.
Well, thanks everyone.
Uh,
I think everyone went. If not, you can like talk now. But I think that everyone went.
We did, yeah.
Okay, so no, I'm super happy that even though that we are living these really challenging times, we can always share significant experiences that we have had in a short time, and we are always like getting amazed to learn more things, and we are always like discovering things, and we are like all of our experiences for me are the experiences that you shared are super interesting, and like I imagine what grief was feeling in that moment, like okay man, I've been in the same place, so like I can relate what you feel, but like the sun is gonna shine, and like tomorrow is gonna be a new day, and like yeah, I think more or less you also like played like a graviton role to like tell them, hey, everything is gonna be okay, and like even though there are problems, you have to look for a solution, and like putting your head in the ground doesn't solve anything.
No, exactly. I told him, dude, are you kidding? You guys are so successful. You raised $1 billion, three of you. What the hell? You can do whatever you want now. It's like, how do you want to spin this success into, like, what do you want to take this success and move it into? And from that perspective, hopefully things were easier for him.
Okay, and now I prepared another moment for this call, and it's like we were working on the gravity survey, and I took like the time to paste it and select some questions in the type form. So here you can check the type form, and I will be very glad if we can take some time to do it, like each one of you, and if you have any comment on a question that you think it's bad written or something, you can like leave a comment in there, so that after this call maybe I can like watch the responses and also keep polishing the tool. I will paste it in the Gravity chat. Yeah. And it's this one. So I am going to give some minutes, like 7 to 10 minutes, for everyone to fill the type form. And also, if you feel that you want to tell something when you're filling it, please like open the mic and talk about it.
Could you go back to question 7 real quick?
Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Can you, Juan, tell me what reluctant means in Spanish? Because I'm trying for translation, but I don't find it.
¿Cuál palabra?
Reluctant, question 7.
Ah, es como que no tienes ganas de hacerlo, como que lo evitas,
Gracias.
como que lo rechazas. How are you feeling with the survey?
Yeah, I feel it's great, but yeah, some questions I need to think.
That's great.
Yeah, it makes you think a lot. I feel like there's a few. I'm taking some notes. I think it's question 2 that says, what practices does your organization promote to help maintain a healthy atmosphere? I think saying your organization is weird because on top you're asking like all the organizations. So it's a weird concept to have like your organization. Maybe what practices have you perceived in the groups you're a part of or were a part of that promote a healthy atmosphere?
Yes.
Yeah, and also I'd say there's a word conflictive. That's not really a word. So we should probably use something else for
Question
that.
9.
Is a question 9, yeah.
Okay.
So
Conflicting.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just say what makes or maybe we could ask it in a better way, which is to say, what could we do to make it easier for you to manage conflict or something like that? Like, are there practices that we could adopt or you would recommend? Or I'm not entirely sure. Maybe there's a different question, say what makes it easier, and then maybe have another question that asks for specifics. What would you recommend, or what have you found useful or effective or whatever?
Okay. And I want to move also to the next topic of the agenda, and is that in last week we talked about that the gravity mediation form should have like an observation form that should be previous to the mediation meeting, and I was like making a really fast draft, but I want to present, but I want to like work and hack a little bit on it with you. And the idea of this like form is for the gravitons to like screen and map the situation in the most like impartial and less judgmental way they can. And the idea of this is that before having the mediation session, the gravitons should approach both parts to like tell the story from both points of view, and like having that the two stories, we can then identify key points of mutual interest and key points of mutual disagreement to prepare the mediation meeting.
So this would be the O part of the Offner process, right?
Yes.
So it's important to note that has a sort of an appropriate way and an inappropriate way. So the appropriate way is being sort of assessing the facts and so on. The other is, to include the judgment. So maybe we as gravitons could hear whatever the judgment is and then maybe make an assessment of what the actual facts are underneath that, if it's possible to do so. On the other hand, if the person is very factual, then record those too, right? But to make that distinction between just the pure observation, factual, sort of non-judgmental with the observations with the evaluation inside. So that seems to me to be not only we should talk to them, but we should also evaluate what they say according to that criteria.
Okay, and I was thinking about two or three questions to ask, and the idea is to ask the same question to both parts, and like yeah, have like the inputs from both of them, and then we have like our interpretation of the inputs. So the first would be like, could you describe the conflictive situation that we are managing, or that is the case that we are like that is the case, or that happened? And what
Just
out
describing what happened. Yeah.
what outcome would make you overcome this issue? This is a very good question, because there is this like mechanic on conflict management that we tell and we ask the people like, could you write a winning speech? What would be like your winning speech? Like what outcome would make you feel victorious in this conflict? And this helps us to identify points of interest of each of the parties. Like maybe one can talk more about recognition, and maybe the other can talk more about receiving like an apology or something, and then we can identify what does each part need to solve the conflict. What other questions do you think can be included here?
Well, I continue to think that we need to minimize the words conflict. The word overcome is a sort of domineering word. The word victorious, you know, it's a little bit odd to be like, because if I'm in a conflict, of course I want to be, you know, victorious in some way, but it's just there we need to maybe, you know, in your, you know, what is your best possible outcome here, or something, you know, that you would like to see, to leave it kind of open and very positively stated. So, because we're trying to resolve the issue, not trigger, you know, something else. So in yoga, we have to do this a lot. I remember that I was reminded about that in my own teaching, where I had to try to state everything very positively throughout the class. And so, yeah.
What other question do you think that would be really important to ask the parties involved in a conflict before, like, taking them into this mediation, and like to help us frame and map the conflict?
If they're willing to compromise, or even come to a negotiation within certain parameters. I mean, negotiate, yeah, it's very vague, but if they're willing to compromise, and if they say yes, later on, if you ask them to compromise on X or a certain thing that makes it equitable for both counterparts, then the other person is gonna want to be true to, you know, the agreement or the commitment that he already said that he was willing to compromise. It's just a matter of like engineering the consent of both parts, and it sounds kind of sinister, but it's more like, okay, coming to an understanding of what is needed, and how it makes each one feel that thing is not being taken care of.
Well, and I would want to specifically ask questions related to feelings and needs. So if a person has an identified feeling, like, how did you feel when whatever the conflict was that happened, you know, and then, or maybe, you know, what is it you're trying to get, you know, from the other person, so that we can get maybe a clue about their needs, you know, or what, because oftentimes conflicts come from like, well, I was making this request, which is perfectly reasonable, you know, all I wanted was $1 billion, and they just wouldn't give me that $1 billion. And I'm like, well, you know, maybe that's not so reasonable, you know, and that seems obvious to me, but, you know, if you're talking to a billionaire, it might you might be saying that's reasonable to ask a billionaire for $1 billion. So those are two sort of sides of a thing, which I think could happen. So, perhaps the person framed their requests improperly so that we get, some sense of how they did that. So if they just need coaching on how to make better requests, maybe that's another way to do it too, right? So, and what we're looking for here is the link between the feelings and needs, right? So this is the for the gravitons, this thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and there are some specific examples in the NVC workbook, which I don't have with me at the moment, but maybe what we could do is sort of go through that and come up with I think I mentioned words that end in ed are typically not real feelings. They're sort of faux feelings, and so just having a competence in determining the sort of appropriate and inappropriate parts of the observations, the link between the feelings and needs. What's a real feeling? What's obviously you don't want to say that's not a real feeling to the person, but for us to evaluate what they're writing on the form, it's helpful to have an understanding of those relationships, and then and then take a look at how their requests are being framed as well. So
I was going to add to, sorry, go ahead, Livy.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say that, I don't know if I'm informed enough, but I just wanted to make this statement because I do think that at this point in time of the survey and of the conflict resolution process, that if you have two people who are willingly coming forward to have a mediation process in the first place, most of the time they're looking for someone to absolve them of fault, and so whether it be on one side or the other. And I think that pointing finding things that whether it be a lack of process or a lack of understanding, something that can absolve them both simultaneously of fault within how we do things is a good starting point for resolving the conflict afterward and observing how to resolve these conflicts. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there because I do think that a lot of times, if I come to a mediation process and I think I'm in the right and they think they're in the right, we want to find a common problem that absolves us both from being in conflict with each other. Because a lot of times if you say, oh, we've reviewed this and you're wrong and he's right, you're going to push somebody away that would otherwise be a valuable member to the community. And so I just wanted to throw that perspective out there.
Yeah, that's actually the intention behind making the connection between a feeling and a need, so both people's needs are valid, and when their needs are met, then they have positive feelings. When their needs aren't met, then they have these negative feelings. So if we're in a conflict, typically it's because the person's needs are not being met, and oftentimes that's because they can't link their own feelings to their needs, and so our job is to try to help them manage that part of the process. And of course, if it's escalates to some level of sort of legality or whatever, we also need to have the the awareness, the severity and scope questions as well. But for conversational things, it is a little bit it's just a matter of being a translator in many cases. If you can both figure out a way to get each other's needs met, there's almost no chance that there's going to be this conflict in the end, right? It's just a matter of figuring out if neither person has a really good awareness of how feelings are connected to needs, or they use words that end in ed a lot about their feelings. That's a big clue that they don't really have a good connection to that type of thing. So you can work with it.
I think there's something I usually feel like it's missing in the NVC process or similar processes. That is what to do physically with the anger. or with the sadness, or with the I don't know, like the feelings that might come if you don't feel comfortable with the resolution, or even if the resolution is understood in a rational level, but it's not processed by the body. I think it's very challenging to offer something like this in a digital environment or even in a work environment. Like it's something that requires somehow a level of intimacy. But I wonder how to like start normalizing practices of release, of like having something physical, like maybe holding space for like a screaming session, or like offering tips on how to like move your body to like have a meditative moment after, not meditative in the religious connotation, but like observing where things are in yourself. Like I feel like even talking about needs being met, sometimes it requires like a really big level of self-knowledge that a lot of people don't have the tools to even like how to start knowing yourself. Like it sounds so scary. I feel like 90% of America, for example, thinks that therapy is for like crazy people or something, you know? Like, yeah, maybe,
Well,
yeah, maybe offering something if people are open to, you know, like just having that possibility.
yeah, the offering, and for me, like what best suits that need is Ho'oponopono, because it's like a reconciliation process with others and yourself. And for me, this is something that I included in the mediation session as reconciliation ritual. And for me, it's super important because like yeah, maybe we can get to an agreement, but we can feel that okay, I am reaching this agreement because I don't want to fight anymore, but this is not like something that makes me feel good. But like this reconciliation ritual is like what like the signature that I want to leave here in Gravity, on that. Yeah, we're not only reaching an agreement, we are like overcoming an issue, and we are like not staying in that same point, but we are like meeting uh, and like healing these relationships. And this is like it's so important for me. And it's always good when two parts that had a conflict, then they say to another like, hey, I'm sorry. That's super meaningful. And or like, hey, I appreciate you and I honor you and I respect what your feelings and your needs. That's super meaningful. So that's like the spiritual part, if we can say so that way, that I want to like print into this management process, where the idea is to, yeah, to foster healthy relationships. And
Okay.
something
Go
that I
ahead,
have
sorry.
liked about the people that has participated in these mediation sessions is that, like, I'm super happy that I thought that maybe, well, they were gonna reach an agreement, and but their relationship was not gonna be so strong. But I have seen that some people that have had like this that has participated in these processes, then the relationship between themselves has gotten stronger and healthier. And I'm super happy that to see that outcome after a mediation process.
And I think that should be the goal right there. Is like not to decide who's right, who's wrong, but how do we fix this relationship so we have two community members that are willing to participate, even if it means I'm the punching bag.
So my suggestion would be that maybe instead of just saying reconciliation ritual, maybe we can have a reconciliation and or release ritual. So like what Livia was talking about is kind of like I've got these leftover emotions, or I've got, you know what I'm saying, like I was carrying like this tension with me all this time, and even though the thing has resolved itself to some degree, I still have this kind of leftover almost because maybe you're carrying like resentment forward until how do you help people sort of get rid of that. And also it just feels to me like we should have some kind of a library of those things that might be appropriate for different things, right? So like what she was saying about, it's kind of screaming and stuff. Like I do that sometimes too. I scream into my pillow, or I punch my pillow or something where I'm just like, I just need some way, or I just go run around I have a circular driveway. I'll just go run around and until I'm done with that. So, I don't know, maybe that can help.
So Juan, just a status check, we're at the 250. So 9 minutes ago.
Okay. No, I'm super happy with what we have advanced. I will keep working in
I need to
this
go now. Thanks.
observation and in this mediation. Thanks, Durgadas. Forms, and I will update them in the forum so that everyone in the community can know how is the process, and also the gravitons can have like a point to consult how should they approach any situations. And yeah, we want to keep improving in this like easy step by step on how does gravity work, and how can gravitons like approach to a conflicting party. And I also look forward like on what we can see from the survey to improve our processes. So the last thing that I wanted to say is that yes, we have our mission, vision, and values runoff. So everyone can go to token log and vote. So yeah, that's like the last thing that I wanted to invite you to do today. And I am so happy of having these meetings, and so happy of counting with you, and of being part of this community. Like I love the swag, and I think that's something that moves a lot the sense of belonging. And it's amazing that yeah, maybe I'm in Colombia and you guys are in other places, but we have the same hat, and that makes us like stand in the same point. So that's like super amazing. And yeah, that's everything that I had to say today, and thank you all.
Juan, I want to say one thing. I don't know if it's going to be possible, but maybe I mean, like, of course, like we have to respect like the privacy, but maybe something like distortionation, like the voice, so it's irrecognizable for anyone. And like having some of this, like to see how the team is operating, it would help both sides, like the community to trust in the process, and also like the gravitons to see how how is it working. Probably it's not possible, but yeah, just throwing it in here. It would be like super cool content. Maybe do a simulation, but yeah, a simulation could be also a good thing. I think that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do a simulation. Yeah, I think that would be great. We can have two parts to represent, and as we did in the graviton training, and keep like polishing these skills so that everyone is aware of them, and also like people is very have them handily.
Awesome.
So well, yeah, thanks everyone. If anyone has something else to say, I'm super happy to be here with you. If not, we can end up this call 5 minutes early.
If you can share the link to the or actually, yeah, it's on the Gravity work group call notes. It's all good. Cool.
Yeah, the survey. Okay, and
Thanks, Juan.
I will keep polishing the mediation form, the observation form, and the survey. And thanks everyone, and I'll keep you updated.
Thank you, Juan.
Thanks,
Okay.
Juan.
See you later.
Awesome job.
Thank you, Juan.
Hasta
Bye.
luego. Ciao.